Well, hi everybody. Welcome to a special edition of the Crystal Crawford Show. I usually am solo, but I'm changing. And today we've got Brendon Watt with us. Brendon, I'm so grateful. Thank you for
Thank you.
coming. Yeah,
Thank you for having me here.
yeah,
I
it's my.
like I like hijacking your solo performance.
You should. I need more of that. You guys that don't know Brendon, which is probably not likely, but if you don't, he's an access consciousness facilitator. He's a shining example of a human being and a whole bunch of things I'm 100% sure I don't know about. And what we're going to do today is just like dive in, Brendon, to a facet of your journey that I'm really keen to know more about and also really proud of you for.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And what I want to show you guys today is we call the show, If the Past Didn't Define You. And those of you guys that are into my stuff know that I'm all about that. Like, I'm constantly starting fresh, starting new. Hi, I'm Crystal, I'm new is basically the intro every week. And so I want to, so Brendon, let's dive into this a little bit more and see where we go. When I reached out to you and said that, hey, do you want to come join me on the show? I was like, the thing that sticks out to me about you is your most recent, I don't even know what to call it, like
Debacle.
debacle and subsequent recreation and all of the different choices you had and the ones you ended up choosing.
Uh-huh.
Is there a way to start at the beginning with that?
Well, we'll start by saying this, that debacle that we just so call it now. I was walking with a friend recently in Mexico and was talking about some stuff that was coming up in my world
Yeah.
with the debacle, and I said, when I had my relapse 13 months ago, or almost 13 months ago, and he was like, do you want to try and find a different word for that? Maybe something a little bit more fun, because every time you say it, you just get morbidly depressed. And I was like, oh, you're so right. But talk about letting the past define me.
Yeah.
It was, it was huge. So basically, I mean, if I can
Summarize.
start at the beginning of it, it was just I've had that going on my whole life. Stuff with alcohol and an addiction like that, and it was something that I never wanted to look at. And for
Yeah.
me um to look at it and knowing that if I was going to actually really get through it, there's going to be some stuff that I had to look at that I didn't want to look at. And so that was an accumulation of a lot of different things, but basically 13 months ago, it got to a point where if I didn't look at it, there was no future for me.
And I want to elaborate on this a little bit, you guys, because you were an advanced facilitator. You were facilitating
Hmm.
choice of possibilities. You were up there with Gary and Dean, as one of the four. So can you talk a little bit about what you were, because when you say relapse, it sounds like I'm going to say tried to
Hmm.
stop and then didn't. Can you talk a little bit more about that? You had a
Yeah.
pretty, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so it first became the stuff with the alcohol. It first became very obvious to, um, to everyone else, but not really myself, because once again, I didn't really want to look at it. Like, it was obvious in my world when I look at it now. A few years ago, and then Gary started having conversations with me and truly wanted to be there for me and help me through it. And one of the things as an alcoholic is you're in total denial about it.
Yeah.
It's don't talk to me about it. And basically, for anyone that struggles with addiction or alcoholism, you're the only one that can give yourself that, what's the word? When a
Pick up the
doctor
else.
gives you I don't even know the word, I just forgot it. But basically, you're the only one that can acknowledge it about you. And so over the years, for a couple of years there, I really tried stopping on my own
Yeah.
and was just struggling. Like, I'd do 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and then just cave, and couldn't do it anymore. And so that, along with the shame of, being someone who really, like, I truly desire to be there for people and wanted to show up for people. And I was having a hard time showing up for myself,
Yeah.
And then I actually spent a couple of weeks in rehab, 7 months before this, and I was like, okay, and I got to rehab and was like, and when I look back at that now, I didn't want to be there. I was just doing 2 weeks to get out of there so that I could go back to, not back to drinking, but go back to ignoring it, So I did
So,
that 7 months, and I did that 7 months sober, and but once again, I didn't get the help that I actually required to start healing and getting through it.
yeah. So what was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back? Like, Gary had a conversation with you. Like, what changed? Like, what tipped everything?
What tipped when I knew I had to change it?
Yeah.
Well, what tipped was an accumulation, like I said, but energetically, because it wasn't a cognitive thing. I wasn't going, oh, I'm going to go and blow my life up. I
No,
wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't planning it, but it was definitely in the making, energetically. Because we've talked about forever that choices are not so much your cognitive choices that you make. Energetically, what's going on with everything in your world is what's creating the life that we live, creating what shows up in your world. And they were the secrets for me that I didn't want to look at, and it's like, when you can see blatantly obvious what's going on in somebody's world, but they can't.
yes.
That was me, and
Yeah.
so for me, it was, it just broke, and I can't give you a specific,
Yeah.
there's no specific reason or there's no specific moment. It was like I created a dam for myself, and basically the thing was about to burst.
Yeah. And I've heard you talking on another conversation where you said, Gary said something to you that I think was really spot on. And it was something about you needing to do this on your own. Can you talk about that a little more?
Yeah, well, when I first, only a few days into it, and he and I were having an interesting time because, I'd lost a lot of his trust.
Yeah.
And so I was having a conversation with him, and he said, look, I can't help you with this. This is something you have to do on your own. And he was so correct, because for a lot of us, it's like we're in Access, we use those tools, and it's like, okay, so now let me make Access responsible for my life. Let me make consciousness responsible for my life. Let it be the source for the creation of my life, which is what I'd done to a degree too. And
Yeah.
him, and
Yeah.
Gary. And basically there was no way through this unless I made the choice to actually get through it. And that was a big thing for me. Was all I wanted to do was, please, someone come and save me. Someone please, and that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah. So I think it's really incredible. There's a number of things I think are incredible about this. One, you did choose the strength. You did choose. And the second thing I think is really incredible is that you didn't leave.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little more?
Get rid of me.
Because there are people that do, and they take
know.
people with them. And you
Yeah.
didn't choose that, and you could have.
I will never choose that.
Can you talk more about that?
Yeah. Well, it's like, like I said previously, it's like a lot of people look for something else to be the source for the creation of their life. So you look at something like Access or something like consciousness, or someone like, let's say, Gary Douglas, Dane here, like people that are really, out there and there for people. You would quite easily make someone like that the source for the creation of your life. But in doing that, you've instantaneously created this separation. You've put yourself as less than. In order to get anywhere close to that, you've got to cut it down. So for a lot of people, when they do that, like you see if somebody comes into Access, which a lot of people have and done this, made it the source for their life, and then it not turned out exactly the way they thought it should. and then access is to blame. And it's like, and then they, speak out and do whatever it is that people do. But one thing I know about me, and this has been it's been a journey, but also a very, very many come to Jesus moments with myself.
Same here. I hear you.
I know every single thing that goes on in my world and the world around me is a choice that I'm making. And it's, let me be completely honest with you though. It's not like that wasn't there. It's not like that didn't present itself of I could leave, and I could separate and F you to everyone and why me, and all that shit that comes up. But that's not who I am.
Okay, and I think especially for you, like you had again, with your position, you were very visible. And so I can
You could say
imagine,
that, yeah.
I mean, are.
Yeah.
And to be able to walk back into a class, I remember running into you in Puerto Vallarta, and there you were. And I was like, fucking balls on you to continue showing up. Did it take that many balls?
Yeah, it did. It did. And it's still, one of the things for me is it's really easy to have something like that from your past define you.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, at that point at that class, it was like, I'm the worst thing in the world, I'm terrible, I'm wrong. But if you look at that, and I say that because we all have done this or do
Totally.
this to a degree. But if you look at something like that, is how much do we use that as a way to control the world around us?
Can you say more about that? What do you
Yeah.
mean?
So, well, it's like, so for me, for example, like with that, it's like if I can act, if I can be this wrongness, if I can be all of that and show people who I've decided that I am, then it's like, then I can put myself in a less than position. I can create the control that it is that I desire that I'm not even sure I know I'm trying to create. Same thing. It's like, please take care of me, please take care of me. Rather than so there's that, right? But then there's also the courage to go, you know what? I am stuck in this still. So see, doing it like that, like, you know what? I am stuck in this still. I get that it's not probably not my best choice, and I get there could be a way out of it. And right now, I don't know what that is. Right now, I have the tools, but I'm still like going into this, and it's like that's where the allowance for you has to come in, because this is another reason that people go against something like access or something like consciousness. They go, well, look, I'm here and I'm all this and I've got all this going on in my life and you didn't help me. No, the tools are there to help you, but they don't work until you're willing to be what it takes to actually be that tool. So for me, it took, like, that was my first class, and it took that, and I went, okay, cool. So this is coming up in my world. I'm feeling like I've got insecurities. I've got this. Okay, so what now? What next?
Yeah.
How do I get through this part?
Fucking balls. Yeah, you're welcome. And for all of you guys listening, I really want to encourage you too, because we all face these things. I recently, this past year, the last 2 years for me, I was the least proud of myself I think I've ever been in terms of what I was being in the relationship. I could not stop reacting. And thank God for PRs, NORs, and NOR slime. And I've talked about that in other videos, but and my persistence, but I just kept I know there's a me that's beyond this. I know that I have something, there was just a strength inside of me that kept choosing forward into what I knew was true about me that I didn't seem to be able to access yet.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that so much, the courage that it takes to just take that next step and take that next step. Yeah.
Well, and it's like, and the willingness to have self-awareness, because it's like none of us are perfect, and we've all tried to be. We really have. We've really tried to, well, let me just put the perfect out into the world and keep all the dirty stuff behind. And it's like, from what I've found and what I'm definitely finding about myself and so many other people, is it's all the dirty stuff that's the good stuff. It's everything underneath it.
Totally.
You know?
You've got this, gosh, what I want to ask you about so many things. What would you, so we called this if the past didn't define you, like, is this a daily thing for you? Like, what's a day in the life of you like?
Well, now very different than what it used to be,
Yeah.
and it's only probably been the last maybe even month that I've started actually like really starting to like myself. And before I'd have, bits of it and stuff, but I had so much image going on as well. Like I had so much that I was trying to keep up that I was putting out there into the world. Now it's that's very different for me. So now it's basically for me, that's very high on my list of priorities is liking who I am. So if that starts shaking, then it's like, okay, what's this? What's going on here? What am I choosing that's not me being what it is I'd like to be in the world? Because one of the things that got me, unstuck was I could go and facilitate a phenomenal class, amazing, and be there for people and do that, and then walk off stage and not be that for me.
Yeah.
Be the opposite of that. Talk about no judgment, and then have judgment going on in my work. So it's like it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So I think now is more of an exploration of what kind of a world would I like to live in, and what have I got to be to create that.
Did you have to build a new muscle of presence? And like, I haven't been an alcoholic, but I do recognize that choice to like just kind of fade out. Like, what has that been like for you? Like, without having that, we all have these crutches, right, of unconsciousness in some way. Some of it's more extreme than others. So, can you tell me a little bit more about what that daily, was that a muscle building thing or something else?
Well, for me, so for me, first thing was I had to get really clear that I'm an alcoholic.
Okay.
So for me, I have an allergy to it. I have an allergy to alcohol. My body has an allergy to it. So I have one drink, and that's it. That's one drink. One drink's too many, and 100 is never enough, is what they say. Because it's true. You have one drink, and the craving begins, and it's see you later.
Yeah.
But for me, that is something that I had to get out of wrongness of, first of all, and be like, okay, cool. So this is what is. It's like if your body's allergic to a can of paint, you don't drink paint, just don't do it.
Yep.
So there's that, but also the nurturing of what it is for me and what it gives to me, so I know that I stay close to that awareness because, like I said, if I choose that again, I don't have a future. So it's very much something that I care about now a lot.
What is it do you get that, this might just be who you are as a being, but it's not everybody that cares about having a future. That
No,
seems
well,
pretty
I
different.
didn't
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
It was like I said, I'd made other things the source for the creation of my life, and somewhere in my world, it was just like, someone will take care of it.
Gotcha.
Someone will handle it, which is what a lot of us do to some degree, and it's to whatever degree people are willing to look at that. But because once again, it's not a wrongness.
No.
Look at what you grew up with.
Yeah.
Look at what you've been conditioned with. Look at the world around you. But this for me was more about me looking squarely at myself. And going, okay, cut the bullshit. Like, what's really going on here?
Yeah.
And that was, now I'm only just really beginning to care about here's the difference for me. And here's when I know I'm actually being something different is when when it's not just about caring about my future, when it's about caring about everybody else's in our world's future.
I love that. Thank
And
you.
that's when I know I'm congruent, when that comes into play. And it's the same with my life, I will say, that if I'm making my life about me, I'm off. Something's not good in my world because I'm looking backwards somehow. So that's when I get present with that and be like, okay, so if I was being me, what contribution would I be right now? One question like that I find really changes things because once again, look at the world around us. How many people are actually present with themselves? And I know for myself, and I can probably speak on behalf of both of us and the people, that are listening. It's when you're truly being you, is everybody else included? Is it ever really about you? Are you looking for, how do I get my piece out of this? How do I get my, thing out of this? Or is it, how do I be more to contribute to everyone with this?
I love it. I love it. What haven't I asked you about this that you can you can tell us?
I would say, I don't know, but it's interesting for me, like with, I get a lot of people have a curiosity with, probably with a lot of my choices, and are like, man, how could you go like from that to that, and
Yeah.
or have that similar kind of weirdness in their own world about, I used to have this and now I don't, or I used to be happy and now I'm not, or so it's still having that past as something that defines you based on what you've decided you've lost.
And so what are some of the things you can start to choose to just start choosing beyond that? Like to literally let it fade in relevance.
Well, I would say, like for me, destroying and uncreating myself every day.
Yeah.
It's beginning with that, but then also like really using the tools of access. And so that, because it's easy to be like, oh, how's it get any better than this? But like being,
But really,
yeah, but really, but see, so for me, what that takes is a level of presence. So like getting really present with yourself, and recognizing that we're all energetic beings. So you have an awareness of things going on around you, but when we're on autopilot, it's running our life.
yeah.
So is every reference point from the past. So this is noticing when like say what you were talking about, when you're in a relationship, and I'm sure we all do this too, is when you go into reaction.
Yeah.
It's like, just stop for a minute and be like, okay, cool, reaction. What is this? And using these new tools that we have with the pocking and potting, all the PRs and NORs,
Oh
and
my God.
and getting present again, being like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. If I'm being me, what am I choosing?
Yeah. That's all it's taken. It's just in the moment, presence with myself. What is this? What can I do with it?
Can I
Using it.
change it? And if
Can
so,
I?
how do I change it?
It
Yeah.
is truly that.
Yeah.
And then moving forward with what I want to choose next. And for me, there's times when I just literally need to energetically shake off everywhere I've made the past into some sort of structure that I can't create beyond, like who I was or how I was creating my business or what I had anything I had decided, and just going, if I could
Yeah.
just do things fresh today, like where would I
Yeah.
start? What would I choose? Do you
Yeah.
have other tricks?
Well, it's like, one of the things that stuck with me over the years was the recognition that you can't truly have anything unless you're willing to lose it. So, like, if we look at the things that if we have in our life, how many of those things are based on need? So we don't actually get this level of receiving that's possible with it. Once again, not a wrongness, because I have still many things that come up and I'm like, oh shit, I'm not willing to lose that. But it's like, but see, here's the difference now, is in the past I would have been like, oh yeah, like I don't do need, which is one of the,
Yes, I
it's
do.
like, I'm this big shot, and it's like, no, I'm still me,
Yeah.
I'm still me. But now I just recognize that I got stuff which is all awesome, and I'd like to change some stuff, and whatever. But it's like, but it's recognizing those things without the judgment attached.
Totally.
Recognizing, okay, where do I have these limitations in my world? And you see, for me, one of the big things is secrets. And anywhere you have a secret in your world, it's tomorrow's lie. And lies and lies and lies and lies and lies on top of that. So it's really, once again, showing up for yourself and just going, what would it take for me to be really, just to be more present with this? What would it take for me to spot the agendas that I have, the secrets that I keep from myself? What would it take for me to perceive, to know, to be and receive the areas of my life that I'm really lying to myself.
Yeah, I love that. I asked like 3 years ago, I started asking, what would it take for me to live fully exposed? Because I was so exactly what you're talking about, image bound, I was so
Oh
hidden
man, it's
from,
hard work.
it is so hard. And I was so good at it, and I was so exhausted, and also so blocked from receiving anything,
Yeah,
anything.
and that's
Period.
the,
And
you
it
know,
was, yeah,
that's the big part
yeah,
from receiving anything. Because you
yeah,
know that thing like infinite being, infinite receiving. That's a
yes.
lot of receiving.
That's a lot of
And
receiving.
and we live in a reality, unfortunately, that is, we choose to live in a reality that
Yeah.
unfortunately functions from give and take.
Yep.
And see, for me, and what I had to get really clear on for me was I had to start working through some of the things that I was still stuck in from the past, because that's another big thing about not letting the past define you. It doesn't mean the past didn't exist. It doesn't mean there's still, like, if you've been through abuse, if you've had things like that, it's not like, oh, okay, so I'll just let go of the past. No, it's not about making it something that's not relevant when you still have relevance on it. It's going, wow, you know what? I'm still stuck here. I still am angry at this because of this abuse, or I've still got this going on, because then we can actually deal with it.
Yeah. And
Which is the other thing, is you can't change anything that you keep hidden from you. And that's the
yeah.
big thing with secrets that gets us.
And I found really, maybe you've discovered this similarly, that just like exposing those secrets, those things you think are so unhealable or wrong, to the
Yeah.
air of allowance does actually, it gives you everything. It gives you the gift of it, the change available, the choices you have available. But hiding it, on the other hand, doesn't allow anything like that to
No,
occur.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and unfortunately with that we keep the universe out. The whole universe. It's like I like to kind of look at the universe as a big puppy. It's just like I'm here to give you whatever you want, and I'll just like play with you, and I'll do whatever you want. And for most of us, what we're doing is we're like, I need this, I want this, I hate this, and it's like, and as we, most of us probably have the sense or the awareness, is that you get more of what you focus on. So the universe is going, okay, you need more, you need more lack. Okay, good. You need more judgment of yourself. Okay, good. And it's like, I'm giving you what you want.
Oh, Brenda, we could keep going. Can you tell us a little bit about your membership, the journey?
Yeah. Well, I started this because I really wanted to contribute to have something for people where they had a constant engagement. So I've got a call on every week with this thing, and we just explore, and I go into all different tools and different spaces and see what I can contribute to people. But for me, it's each and every one of us is on a completely different journey. We're all very unique, and I would like to see, I'd like to more people to have that, or see that as the gift that it is,
Yeah.
but also recognize that for most of us, we're going in the same direction.
Conglomeration, just generally heading
Yeah, we're all
that
like,
way.
well, one of the things that was hard is hard for people to acknowledge is, did you come here to actually create a greater world? And it's like,
Yeah.
what, me? Like, to look at that and actually from vulnerability go, I would really like to see a greater world. It's like, that is a gift.
Yeah.
So I would like to be more of that for the world.
Well, you already are, and I'm so
Thank
grateful
you.
for you. I'm so
And
grateful for
I'm
your
grateful for you.
choices. They lead the way.
Thank you.
Even when you're in
Really.
your private time, like feeling like not much, just know that there are people that really appreciate what you're choosing. So,
Thank you. I'm
yeah,
truly grateful for that.
yeah. And you guys that are watching, I would encourage you 100,000% to check out Brendon and the journey and anything else that's going to contribute that nurturing change that you've been asking for. So,
Thank you, Crystal.
thanks, Brendon.
Have an awesome day.
You too. Bye for now,
Thank you.
guys.
Bye.